Welcome to the Intentional Father Podcast, where us fathers parent our children, not by accident, but with intent. I'm your host, Aaron Stroman. Season 1, Episode 2, The Early Months. I was originally going to call this episode The Early Years, but I started thinking about it, and it's like, no, this applies to the early months, not the early years. So what can you as a father do to father your newborn baby in those first couple months of life? I think this is really important, and I think this is something that gets overlooked by a lot of dads. They think, man, my wife actually gave birth. She's the one that's breastfeeding, caring for the baby. Quite often, the woman is the one who's staying home more to care for the child than the man. And so it's easy just to write off our responsibility as fathers during those early months. So I'm going to give you a couple easy to-dos as far as how you can take ownership of your parenting and how you can begin to connect with your child and play that father role during the early months. First of all, support your wife. Yes, she did carry the child. She delivered. She's the one who's breastfeeding if you choose to do that, which the science and research is pretty clear. Breastfeeding is really good for the babies, but that creates a really special bond in between the mother and child. So we encourage that. But it's a different bond than what you're going to get as a father, but still support your wife in all that. And you also have to consider this too. What her physical body went through. She just had another human being formed within her womb, carried it for 9 months, and then delivered it. So there's going to be some physical trauma that comes after giving birth, whether natural or if there's a C-section operation done. There's got to be some time for healing and recovery. The woman is going to be tired and sore. There's also going to be just a whole lot of chemical and hormone unbalances going on. If you think of this, especially if the child is a boy, here this estrogen-filled woman is developing a testosterone-filled child, a boy within her. So that's kind of crazy if you think about it. And then with the breastfeeding and just everything that's going on there, your wife is going through a lot. Even like hunger is a big deal, because when women breastfeed, the caloric outtake is all of a sudden amped up, and so she has to compensate with her caloric intake. So she's going to be hungry because she's not just feeding herself, but also another human, and her nutrition is being converted into that breast milk. So there's just a lot going on. So support your wife in all this. How can you support your wife? As soon as you get home, pick up that baby. Greet your wife, love her, but take the baby out of her arms. And you're going to want to take the baby and give her a break as much as possible if you're working this traditional rhythm where the man works and the woman stays home. Modify it if that's not the situation, but try to take the baby as much as you can. Try to do feedings once that's an option, whether you're pumping or using formula or whatever that looks like. But you want to give you want to give your wife as much of a break as you can, and you want to increase your interaction with that baby as much as you can. Even just holding it, there's a connection being made there. Hold the child, talk to the child, begin that relationship building. Let it become familiar with your voice. Another way you can support your wife is really caring for the child and providing her opportunity to have a little bit of a social life and have some therapy or counseling. Postpartum depression is a very real thing. The woman, she may feel like she's losing it or going, just kind of going berserk or stir crazy, being in the house all day with the child. So provide those outlets for her to connect with her friends, her family, without the baby. You can take the baby and give your wife some time to go out alone. And then also the counseling piece. If she needs some therapy, provide it for her. Take over the fatherhood role and let your wife go and get some mental therapy as well. Also, change that diaper. I have met a couple men who pride themselves saying, "I've never changed a diaper in my life." I think that's it's a really sad situation, and it's a bit arrogant and sounds foolish. So help out with changing the diaper. Again, I already mentioned the feeding times, changing clothes, carrying the baby carrier. So men, there's plenty that you can do. So do your part. Now, I also want to talk about sleep deprivation, because sleep deprivation is very real, especially in those early months. The baby has to wake up more frequent to eat. It's a little harder at first for the baby to sleep through the night entirely without a break. So men, especially if you can do night duty, try to give your wife a break during the evening so she can sleep. And I know what you're thinking. You're going to work. You're working 40 hours a week, probably minimum, and you get home. Even if you have a manual labor job or blue collar job, you're thinking, man, I'm exhausted. I need a break. It's a different exhaustion, working versus those early months in parenting and mothering a child. Give your wife a break. I think part of the man's role is just taking on some of that load onto his own shoulders, taking it for the team, taking it for the family. Sleep when you can. I remember in the early months, there was one Saturday I was home all day. We just fed the baby, put her down, and we realized, we might have, hour and a half, 2 hours of a break here. What should we do? And the conversation was, should we have sex or should we sleep and take a nap? And we ended up taking a nap. Now, the high school version of Aaron would have never guessed that I would have chosen sleep over sex. But man, when you're those early months, you are tired and you may have to make that decision. And let me say this, men, that is okay. There's certainly the first couple weeks, you're not going to be able to have sex because of the physical recovery that your wife is going to have to go through just in her own body. But you're going to be tired from, again, doing the night duty, baby waking up, feeding. The sleep deprivation is it's so exhausting. In fact, it's a form of torture. There are many foreign army, well, maybe even domestic military forces that use sleep deprivation as a form of torture. It's tough, right? So it's very tough. So sleep when you can, and just know that there's a season. These early months are exhausting, but that's a season in your fatherhood, and it's not forever. If you're starting to get discouraged that you and your wife aren't connecting sexually the way you used to, just know it's a season. That season will pass and new seasons will come. So be encouraged. Don't get too discouraged and think life is like this forever. It's not. It's not. Things will get better. Finally, what I'll say is take the moments to capture the memories on photo, on video. Again, those early months, everything changes so fast. Even from the baby's eyes just being open to like starting to recognize light and shape, being able to recognize certain voices, cooing, developing the baby developing its own voice into the whole baby's first steps, walking, crawling, etc. You think you're never going to forget those because they're so special and they're so meaningful, but you're going to forget them. So take the photos, especially of the middle child. If you have a second or third born, don't let them slip through the cracks, because that's kind of the stereotype. The middle child is the forgotten child, but make sure you do that for the middle children. Anyways, I hope this is valuable. Those first couple months are rough. The next few next many podcasts are going to focus on when the child's a little older and there's some cognitive capability, but the babies don't have that yet. So just love them, be there for them, and enjoy being a father. And for any of you that are in this season of fatherhood, welcome to it. Congratulations on becoming a father. It's going to be one of the best dynamics of your life. I promise you. God bless. We'll catch you next time.